Welcome to the Women in Leadership Body, Mind, Soul, and Business podcast. I'm Heather, and this is Amanda. And together we are connecting the women in leadership and business to build relationships and empower each other, improving the health and wellness of our community, body, mind, soul, and spirit, sharing the heart and soul of who we are and what we do. And today I am so honored to have this lovely guest with us. She has a kind heart and always makes sure to share her appreciation for her community. She's a mom of four, homeschools, and manages to find time to write her own blog and to help others take charge of their homes too. Somehow she squeezes in time for us here on the podcast as well. Thank you so much for being here today, Amanda Holler.
Thank you.
Would you mind doing a quick recap for anybody that might be new on how you got to us, Amanda?
Sure. So apparently I have this secret skill that I have acquired over many of years.
Dun, dun,
and
dun, 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 dun,
right?
dun,
I feel like Liam Neeson when I say that. A very specific set of skills. And that skill is apparently stalking. And I mean that in a good way. It's how my husband and I got together is because I stalked him. And then I have known Charlie since my 10-year-old was a baby. And we kind of were in the same circle, but didn't hang out or anything. And when I was working at a coffee stand at the end of last year, she came through and we kind of reconnected, and I had seen she was doing a podcast, so I started listening to it, and I liked it. And then I just was like obsessed with it. And I'm up really early in the morning, like earlier than probably 99% of you, because it's 2 a.m. And
yes, that's the time you wake up. Like some of us would stay up till 2 a.m. if we could, right? Like you're up and you start your day at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like this is the middle of the day for you.
I'm getting
up.
Yeah. So, but that's because my husband has to be in Seattle at 4 or 5 o'clock. So we have to get up earlier to make that happen. But anyway, I would wait around until 9 o'clock when the podcast went on, or I knew that it was downloaded so I could listen to it on Spotify, or at that time we were downloading it to YouTube right away so I could watch, right, and listen to it. And then I, felt compelled to just kind of snake my way on in.
You were so sweet. You reached out and you were like, hey, if you ever, need someone to sub, and then we did need you really badly. And then you're just such a great part of the team. And part of what you do for your own family and your own world is your momming school blog. And so I'm really excited for what you've been doing, putting together for us here at the podcast is your women empowerment blog. So it's called The Women Empowerment Blog.
Yes.
By Momming School. So you want to tell us a little bit about this journey and how that's been going for you?
Yeah, so it's been the podcast is so new. If you're just now tuning in, this is a very new podcast compared to the other ones that are out there. And however, with that being said, I've watched this from episode 1, season 1, day 1. I don't know, maybe you guys didn't even have episodes at that point. It was just the podcast was out. I don't even remember, but I watched it from the beginning. So you gals had asked, hey, would you be interested in doing a blog for the podcast? I'm like, well, yeah, I can do that. So I've been able to start all the way back where you guys started. And I was a listener instead of, part of the, staffing or whatever, and recap all of that stuff. And so the things that I got the first time I listened, I have gotten something different the second time I've listened. And I feel like even when I write the articles, I'm even pulling out like third things I've learned. It is so crazy. So if you're new or you're not, please go back and listen to the other ones, because I promise you will get something else out of it. And it's been cool because in high school, which it was a while ago, but not terribly long ago, I hated writing. I did not like writing. I never thought I would be a writer. And I'm not the best writer by any means, but I do my darndest. And I feel like people are able to connect to it because it's not journalism script. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're speaking like you speak. It's a very authentic. You're putting things in your words, and it's I love it. Like,
yeah, it's funny because I've written things like I've had to write, say, cover letters for jobs and things, and my sister is pretty good at that, and she actually went to school to be a teacher with a reading certificate or something. So I would send her these rough drafts. Now, I'm the oldest in my family. She's 2 years younger than I am, and it doesn't matter how old we get. I still am very competitive with her in that aspect. I'm like, hey, read this over, tell me what you think. And I'm like, oh, I've proofread this like 800 times. It still comes back looking like pizza. And I'm like, what was wrong with the way I did this? Like, why do I have to redo this whole thing? And she goes, well, you write how you talk. I'm like, oh, yeah, I do. So blogging right up my alley. This is something that I really enjoy and something that I can connect with. And it's nice to be able to bring, like maybe you missed an episode and you're like, well, I just want the gist of it. The blog is a great place to go to the website, click on web, women empowerment blog. And I've just kind of given you a brief little Mama Haller summary of what I got out of it. But you can get something different out of it too. So I still suggest listening to it.
I'm having some challenges with the website. So if there's a WordPress expert out there that wants to help me with this, but I'm publishing the episodes for Amanda right onto the web. So it's saying they're by me, but they're not. They are really written by Amanda. And if you scroll down, she gets the credit down there at the bottom. And this whole section of the website is all done by Amanda. It's really amazing. And there will be more coming because of me being sick and being out. I'm now behind in getting her blogs posted. So there will be some massive posting and updates coming. So go ahead and watch for that on the website. That's so exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to my journey. Will end with the meditation today.
Sure.
So in the process of making my health a priority for myself, I've increased my knowledge exponentially and my understanding of how my body works and how our bodies work all sorts of different levels, right? And together, Charlie and I have each shed over 170 pounds. And that was even before we met each other. So coming together, we still want to make sure that we both are focusing and keeping our health a priority. So that's why we put in a little bit of health stuff into our segments, because that helps us stay focused on these major goals for ourselves and our families, right? So with mental health, I think that, this week, the topic being Klesha-s and talking about mental and emotional afflictions and how they're, affecting how we do things. I know that that if I am not consistent in my nutrition, that I can feel it mentally, right? So a few years ago, I noticed that when we're really, really stressed out, like the go-to is to eat a bunch of crap. And then it creates that cycle of I feel like crap. And so I kind of worked with my son and we worked out, like, instead of plans, like, so making sure that, we have comfort foods, but that they have nutrition into them. Right. So he really, really liked. Right. There's like finding that
Mhm.
balance of, yes, this is comfort, but not like so destructive to your body, level.
Right.
One of our favorite recipes in my family is a broccoli cauliflower casserole. My grandma used to make it, and then my mom would make it, and now obviously passing it along. He loves that. It's, who doesn't like anything that involves cheese with your broccoli, right? So
I have a friend, her husband doesn't like, he's not allergic to it, he just doesn't like cheese. And I said, how does he live his life? I said, I really like your husband, but you should really think about your options at this point.
I mean, I've gone off of cheese before to like eliminate dairy for a while, but I wouldn't say that I don't not like cheese. Yeah. We like cheese. Cheese is very comforting.
So when you make that, Heather, do you put chicken in it?
I do now to add the protein in. Even if it's just the stinking canned chicken, it works so lovely and just adds protein in there. Chicken, we've put ham in there, like kind of any leftover vegetables we'll throw in there with it. Like, we're not so purist that it has to be the exact recipe. I've got my son to relax a little on that. So as long as it has a general flavor, he is like super happy. And there's usually never any leftovers, no matter what size it is. Like, I'm like, dang. I'm like, so.
We make something very similar to, I'm sure it's the same thing because it's got like the broccoli cheese, the rice, the condensed soup, chicken, all that, right? We always put sriracha sauce on ours.
Nice.
You can never have enough sriracha or salt and pepper.
I'm not a spice person, but I definitely understand how the sriracha helps enhance the cheese flavor. Even just like a couple of drops of Tabasco or sriracha, like, will definitely enhance that cheese flavor in anything you're cooking with cheese in it.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, definitely. So the quote of the week is seeds of unhappiness. The seeds of unhappiness, sources of fear, cause conflict and strife. Roast them with flame of awareness and clarity. Clearly hear the inner essence of life, by Nicolai Bachman. So I love that. And we were talking about those seeds of unhappiness and sources of fear that cause strife, conflict and strife. So those seeds are like implanted in us when we are little, right? Mm-hmm. So if we've talked a lot about our reactions to a situation are because of our past experiences, and I think that's why I personally have the quote, the official diagnosis from the doctor on my chart is major depressive disorder. So I have had a long journey with depression and anxiety and that back and forth pole of when the depression's better, but then the anxiety's up, it teeters back and forth. Like it's a journey. It's not a straight path, because even though I'm in such a better place today, I know that if I relax on my routine, if I just don't pay attention to the game that says give up, like at the end of the level, like even just a video game on my stupid phone saying give up, like I'm pushing that give up button how many times? Like, I'm not paying you to continue this game, right? But I need to be aware of that and counter that with positive mental self-talk, because I don't want to give up on myself. So I
saw a thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, don't go.
Sometimes these Zoom things are hard because you're not like with that person, so you don't mean to interrupt, but you do. Anyway, I saw this thing and it was, I'm obsessed with these reels. I'm like a high school kid lately, and it was Jim Carrey, and he said to know the difference between sadness and depression, because they're different and they're hard to understand. He said sadness is a feeling of something happening and you're upset about it for a small moment, right? Depression, I hope I'm getting this right. Depression is prolonged sadness that affects your way of life.
Yeah.
And he used the word, like, he broke it up, and I think it's depressed. You are depressed. You are in a state that you can't get out of, always seeing black and gray. There's no color. And that can be a horrible, as everybody knows, a horrible place to be. I don't know that anybody goes through their life not experiencing it at least once.
Right.
I would be very shocked to hear if anybody had gone there from birth to death
without experiencing some sort at some point. I mean, just losing a loved one can cause this kind of a depressive episode where, like, the loss and grief cycle is so much that it takes you extra long to get over it. Or because you are, I like the way you said it, depressed, the immune system becomes depressed. So then that's why your serotonin levels drop. That's why your GABA levels drop. That's why there's, supplements that you can help take to help increase your vibe, to help you increase your energy and change the vibration you're giving off so that you can heal. So many things I've learned just came out in that one sentence. I was like, wow.
Right. Well, it's been hard, and we've heard this before, whether it was on the news or here on the podcast, or if you follow me on my Mommy School blog, I touched on it a little bit. This whole pandemic thing that we've been in, go to any medical record keeping website, whether it's WebMD or whatever you want to go look at. The amount of people that have been prescribed medications due to depression in the last 3 years versus the previous last 3 years will astound you.
True. Well, a couple of things happened. Everybody had to stop. So by everybody stopping as a collective, you didn't have a choice. Had to, instead of being, always using distraction to get you through, you had to sit with it. You had to be in that. So I think a lot more people were, experiencing symptoms they didn't know about. And then you add in isolation. And that is one of the reasons why this podcast is so important, is because we're creating community and we're talking and we're building and we're having these conversations. So maybe somebody that's still in the middle of the dark can see some light. Right. It's a journey, and it took me a long time to realize that I could be light in the darkness, and realize that I could be like the moon and reflect the light back. I don't have, so it took a while to really understand where a lot of my own issues, and I talk about, like, I've talked about my journey facing limiting beliefs, and there's just like layers of it. And I'm really excited because there's a new book out by Gabrielle Bernstein, and I'm really excited to go check it out. It was like, I just found out about it. It came out like a week or two ago, and I'm excited. I downloaded it on Audibles, and then I'm listening to like some of my favorite ladies talking about it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be intense, but it's right where I'm at. We're going to be talking about shame.
I know. We're so we have a group chat between those of us in the podcast, and all of a sudden at random, she's like, she has a new book out.
I'm like, oh my God, yay! I was like,
who she is, but she must be amazing.
She is. I really check her out. We really like she has a book, several books that are really amazing. And I like in that I was watching an interview with her last night about this book, and I was all excited. And so I'm really excited to delve into the next layer, right? Like to keep going on the journey.
Yeah.
We didn't get here, and this isn't the end. Like we're still got journey to go on. So I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and move into. So if you have any questions and need any help with anything to do with mental health, or let us know if you need resources. We're happy to, to direct you and give you ideas of where you can go to get some help. There's lots of things out there. And sometimes we do need, we need prescriptions, but we also need to find other tools as well. So don't be afraid to go to the doctor if that's what you need to. All right.
And don't think that because you're local that we're not available to you either. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada or here, wherever you are. If you need some guidance, please shoot us an email, a Facebook message, whatever, and we will do our best to help you guys for sure.
Absolutely. We hop on Zoom with each other. We, get on video chats, or, and we create the community, come be a part of that. Definitely. All right. Anybody know if we're on day 33 or day 34?
I don't know for sure. I can't keep track.
I know. I'm like, we'll just go with day 33.
Go with it. Go with it. If not, someone was meant to hear 33 anyway.
Right. They who in every least thing are wholly honest with the spirit of life find life supporting them in all things. Charles Johnson. All right, big deep breaths, feet on the floor. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. In through the nose.
In my car. I just need that to be a disclaimer if you're watching this.
We were definitely testing out the sound. I see what they were saying, a non-echoey room. The car was pretty good choice. And then the kids aren't finding you.
Right. Although I have been spotting this eagle that's been circling around the chickens, and they were freaking out earlier. That's why I was like looking off to the side. Anyway, okay, go ahead, Heather. We're ready when you are.
Deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. The initial work we do in Astrea or non-stealing concerns outright acts of thief. To our surprise, most of us find there's significant work to do. Each of the yamas is an exercise in faith. As we work with them, we put our faith into action. Non-stealing on the physical plane is really about believing the universe will take care of our needs and acting accordingly. This is a very powerful thing to do. As we deepen this work, we discover our willingness to take the next step to examine our habitual thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs. In the previous essay, I confessed to my attempted thief of a pair of scissors. Behind this transgression, of course, was my own unexplained belief in scarcity. I felt that it was prudent to take the scissors because everybody knows that life is chaotic and you can't always get what you need when you need it. When you do get something you need, you had better hold on to it. Without too much effort, I had myself convinced that I was being wise in the ways of the world. I told myself I was actually acting on the fruits of hard-earned experience. And the universe said, wrong. Thanks for playing. Now, Give the scissors back to the nice lady and try again until we begin to acknowledge the poverty consciousness that drives us to steal, to commit to those tiny, seemingly insignificant thieves without second thought. We could not significantly change our behavior. Estrella is our opportunity to let go of poverty consciousness. We no longer have to believe that you win, I lose. We no longer have to defend our opinions or anything else for that matter. We can begin to live in harmony with the flow of life. We can find that we have been looking for salmon who mistaking ourselves for a beaver, have viciously set about damming the river, making lodges, despite the fact that we find this extremely difficult without beaver teeth and beaver paws. We spend a lifetime working to create the perfect beaver pond. Then an enlightened salmon comes along and explains the river will take us effortlessly to the ocean, where we belong and where we will grow into our full salmonhood. We are told that the river we have spent so much energy blocking and hoarding is actually endless, and we will deliver us to a place of unmanageable abundance. All that is required for us to stop blocking the flow with our misguided efforts and our misguided beliefs.
Yeah, and you know what's kind of funny, others, we did do this yesterday. Charlie and I talked about it. As soon as you started about the scissors, I'm like, oh, we did do this one yesterday. But I thought of something completely different than what I did last time.
See,
just yesterday. So, you know, and the one thing that I thought of was, and I don't know why this is where I went with it, but so often on social media where we think, you know, oh, I have to have the white cupboards and I have to have the, you know, perfectly clean, you could eat off the marble floor, right? Those are the images that we're seeing. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if that's what you strive to be, and that's your end goal with your, let's just say, housekeeping, because that's something that, as my blog identifies with, then more power to you. But if you have children, I am here to tell you, you are going to drive yourself clinically insane. It is never end. It does not end. There is no end in sight. There never will be an end. I don't care how old they are. Okay, I still go visit my mom in Montana, and I still leave a trail of a mess everywhere I go. And she's like, why am I still picking up after you? You know, it's not super bad, but I mean, I'm sure it's bad enough. You know, so it's never ending. It doesn't matter.
So true. That is so true. My
kids are sick. Oh, go ahead.
I help raise my sister, and she comes over to my house and she still leaves a trail. And I'm just like, I had to like accept that it was like a blessing that she's still in my life, like, and not get so angry about it, because it's so true. Like, it's like that comfort of home or something. Yeah. And like the trail is so amazing. Like, I love it so much now because I changed my mindset around it.
Right. So it's, you know, and it doesn't matter if it's with housekeeping or if it's with, I mean, what's something in your life, Heather, where you found, other than, you know, that example, where you're like, this is a never ending thing. It's just going to change its face a little bit, but it's still the underlining same thing.
Well, laundry, right?
Oh,
laundry never goes away.
Dishes.
Underlying repeating things. Oh, well, the whole line where it was like, you have the opportunity to change your poverty thinking. And I think that is really amazing, because when we are coming from lack, coming from hoarding, coming from hold on to everything, keep everything, things can't flow, right? Things can't move along. There isn't a natural ebb and flow to it. There's not, that movement of like the ocean, right? Like it's not there. You can't feel it because you're so tight up. So I think stepping into an abundant mindset and being aware of different ways that you can be affected. That's what I got. That's where I went.
No, true though, because I mean, and I said this in the episode, I think it was like episode 1, season 2 or something, when I was on the first time with my blog, and I said, it doesn't matter how much you purge. There's always more to purge, more to declutter, right? But if you just did one drawer or one little section and said, okay, I'm going to get rid of even just 10% or 25%, the less stuff we have in our lives to manage, the easier things seem to be. Have never been, okay, I wouldn't think of myself as a hoarder, but maybe I was, I don't know, and I didn't realize it. But I am notorious for keeping every little crafting whatever, because at one point I saw a TikTok video, or at one point I saw a YouTube video where I could use this silly little thing and repurpose it. And, great grandma would probably whoop my butt if she found out I got rid of it, because I could have used it for something,
right.
But is that practical? And is that where we're at? I mean, maybe you are. And if that works for you and you have the storage and it's not causing chaos in your life, then more power to you. For me, though, I live in like 1,000 square foot house, and there's 6 of us. We have 3 bedrooms and 1 bath. It was causing chaos, and it was causing, emotional problems, mental problems for sure. And once I had the epiphany of, okay, get your shit together, Amanda, we got to fix this, right? Then it was like things kind of came easier. And then I, grew the courage to say to you guys, like, hey, if you ever need some help, let me know. And part of that too was, with that quote, talking about, breaking through your fears and what have you. Excuse me. I was gonna say, I thought of what I was gonna say, and then I lost it. It had to do with coming on. Oh, I talked to you guys, and I said, hey, if you have a second, I got something I want to tell you. And I was a listener at this point. And I said, I have made it a point in my life, because of things that have happened to me as an entrepreneur, to make sure to tell the people that I appreciate, or the business owners I appreciate, to go out of my way to give them a message or a call, or stop by and talk to the owner and tell them, I appreciate that you fill in the blank. Because as a business owner, I wasn't getting my bucket filled in that aspect. I was actually trying to promote small businesses, which is a huge thing, right? Which is very similar to what we're doing right now. And I had this whole thing set up, but I didn't see that it was creating any value. Once I announced I was no longer going to be doing that, all of a sudden, all these people come out of the woodwork, and they're like, oh, you don't do that anymore? Oh, well, I really liked it when you did it. And I'm like, where were you people like 6 months ago? You were So make sure today, if there's one thing you do, declutter something. Second thing would be find a service or a business or something that you feel is valuable, whether it's this podcast, another podcast, maybe it's the lady that makes cookies, maybe it's just your neighbor, and tell them that you appreciate them, and tell them what it is about them or about that business that you appreciate, because that is so huge to entrepreneurs and business owners and people in general.
Especially because you don't know like how many irons that business owner has in the fire. Like Like a restaurant owner could, be having trouble getting their products. The cook is not feeling good and they won't let them come in that day. And, and, the lights are out in the front room, they're like all, I'm just trying to make things up off the top of my head, but there's like all these things that are happening for them. And then they could be feeling like, I have all of these things happening, and what for why? And you're the answer to that, right? They're there to serve you, but sometimes as small business owners, like that, losing that focus, or it's just like one nasty customer after a nasty customer after a nasty customer. Maybe it's your coffee lady. Maybe, someone was rude about how long it took to wait in the coffee line. Like, you just compliment them and you will be surprised how their energy changes. It's so wonderful. It's a wonderful gift.
It can be fire. Yeah. It can be easy to lose the fire, like they were saying in that quote. Sometimes you just lose it and it's hard to find it again. And just that one compliment of, oh, I noticed that you guys got your, hanging flower baskets up. I love it when you guys do that. They always look so cute. Just that would be like, oh, people are noticing my flower basket, that I put effort into making my shop look cute or whatever,
And it might be the one little thing that sparks a little bit more joy for them.
Yeah.
And then that just propels them further in their service to our community. How cool is that? What a cool gift. I want to say thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us today.
Always.
And to our audience, we look forward to you continuing to connect and build more relationships with our community leaders. And we look forward to you joining our table. Namaste.